Hello, beautiful souls. Are you feeling the energy yet? 2026 is the year of the fire horse in Chinese astrology. We're going to be entering that year on February 17th. And I don't know about you, but I can already feel it. So, in this energy update, we're going to be delving into what that means, the year of the fire horse, and especially tuning into the horse spirit animal, because the horse has a lot to teach us about both the energies of this year and how we can ride those energies in a way that's going to feel really powerful and creative and just incredibly freeing for those who are ready for it. So I'm going to start by just sharing with you my horse card from my spirit animal awareness deck. And I think this image is really appropriate for the fire horse. But on each of these cards, is probably backwards for you, but on each of these, I include like the keywords and then the shadow side. And I just want to read these to you first because I feel like this really sums up the energies of this year that we're heading into. Okay, so for the horse keywords, we have freedom, right? We have service to others, and there's a tension between those, isn't there? Overcoming obstacles, right? The horse is what you ride to rise above. Forward momentum, a lot of action, a lot of movement, a lot of power, right? Power is another one. Loyalty, creativity, abundance, and sex appeal. So that kind of sums up horse. And I also want to add heart, right? Horse is a big, big heart animal. Now, every animal, in fact, everything is one of the Hermetic principles that everything has polarities, right? At least when we are in this 3D world. All right. So the negative aspects of horse include being fearful, right? Being driven by fear. They are a prey animal, right? And they can be very reactive. Being scattered, right? Or unfocused, undisciplined, and impulsive. Okay. And we know if you are a horse person or if you've observed horses, that they can really embody both sides of this. Okay. A good horseman, right? One who's really tuned into that natural energy of the horse is able to work with horses to keep them calm and centered and balanced and able to perform amazing tasks, right? Amazing things and beautiful partnership too between horse and human when it's done in a healthy way. All right. So now that we've covered horse energy, I want to talk a little bit about fire. All right. So fire, of course, is one of the four elements, right, that's associated with the directions. And it is usually considered the element that's associated with spirit, right? So, fire, in a fire year like this, there's a potential for a higher degree of spiritual evolution or for spirituality really showing up in the world in a heightened way. So, you put horse and fire together, and that really amplifies a lot of the dynamic aspects of both. Okay, so horses, of course, there are many different kinds of horses. We have plow horses and work horses. Well, the next horse year is going to be in 2038. That will be the earth horse. So we'll be working more with that kind of energy. But for 2026 with the fire horse, we have a couple different ways it can go. It can go more to the wild horse, the Mustangs or the Brumbies, right? And there's a lot of liberation there, but they're not partners with humans, right? So much. They are in a way, but not in a real down to earth, getting things done in the real world sort of way. And we've also got the war horse, which also has that fire horse energy. Okay, we're going to talk about that later. And I don't want you to be put off by the thought of war horse, because when you talk about being in this polarized world, there is an aspect of warfare to it. And we may see some of that materializing in 2026. It's looking like even now in mid-January, it's already shaping up. We may see some of that. So I feel like this is a year to really that's going to challenge many of us, right? To put some of these things in perspective and to understand that any kind of conflict that we're seeing in the outer world is always a reflection of some kind of spiritual truth. And it's ultimately a collective expression of conflict that we're working through within ourselves. Okay, so each one of us has the spiritual battle going on, right? We can look at it that way for fun sometimes. And the thing to remember is if you talk to any of the really advanced martial arts people, right, they will tell you that ultimately the training ideally will result in your never having to fight, right? Because you have learned so deeply the art of self defense and the art of holding your boundaries and holding your strength in such a way that it becomes no longer necessary to go into war. So, that is the ultimate when we're talking about spiritual warfare or any warfare, right? Is getting to the point of being undefeatable so that we no longer even have to participate. And Horus gives us some amazing lessons in how to get there. All right. So before we delve into Horus energy, I want to talk a little bit about the astrology of 2026. Now, I'm not an astrologer, but I am a mystic intuitive, and often I am shown to look into the astrology, right? When I inquire about certain years or months or events. What I found was that 2026 is absolutely steeped in Aries energy. And why is this significant? Because Aries, first of all, mythologically, Aries was the god of war. So here we are with that war theme again. And also, Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. So it always stands for new beginnings and initiations and moving forward, right? In a strong and powerful way. Think springtime, right? Where things spring up out of the ground. So we have lots of Aries energy. I'll get into that. But before even I do, 2026 is also a 1 year. If you add up the digits, 2 to 6 adds up to 10, which boils down to 1. And that also signifies a new cycle starting, right? And so we have all this energy of a new cycle, new beginnings. And when we delve deeper into the astrology, we're going to see just how profound that is. Because first thing I was drawn to research into was that Neptune on January 26th, this is before the fire horse year even starts, but it's a precursor. January 26th, the planet Neptune moves out of retrograde in Pisces. This is my kitty, Zoe. Neptune moves out of retrograde in Pisces into Aries. Now, it went into Aries and then back out last year, but here on the 26th, it's going to be moving all the way back in for good until 2038. Okay. And so Neptune is a planet of dreams and of spirituality, and it's moving into Aries, the sign of initiation, new beginnings, and war. All right. And so here we are, this spiritual warrior archetype just jumping right in at the beginning of this year of the fire horse. Okay, and when I delved into what has happened in these years where Neptune goes into Aries, it happens every, I can't remember, what, 160 or 180 or so years. But the last time was the exact time when we entered the American Civil War. And if you go back, I'll make a list of this and I'll put it in the description because it's uncanny. What it boils down to is that when Neptune goes into Aries, this signifies the rise and fall of empires, right? We saw significant things happening with the Mayan Empire, with the Roman Empire. It is every single time. So I'll put that in the description. I encourage you to check that out because it will blow your mind. But that's not all. So Neptune is this key planet right now in this beginning portion of the year of the fire horse. But it has a partner, and that partner is Saturn. Saturn is also moving out of retrograde in Pisces into Aries. And this happens on February 13th, which is just 4 days before. So it's right in the window of the fire horse year starting. Okay, and Saturn is kind of the planet of discipline, right? The planet holding back. He's a taskmaster. He's the one that brings lessons. He can often bring obstacles that we have to mature into overcoming, right? So this is really, really big. And it also is energy that kind of, there's a lot of opposition to that Aries energy, right? So there could be some feeling of like, driving with the parking brake engaged kind of thing. It could feel a little bit disjointed as we move into that Saturn in Aries. It's going to be in Aries for the next 2 years. All right. And then we have on February 20th an incredibly powerful conjunction. And this is Neptune and Saturn conjunct at 0 degrees Aries. And what is that? It's called the world point, and it's the very, very beginning of the zodiac. So it signifies a very profound kind of world shaking shift in consciousness, especially with that Neptune energy of spirituality, as well as the Saturn energy, right, of maturing and looking into this. I haven't researched this as deeply, but what I was able to pick up was that this rise and fall of empires things is also connected with this particular conjunction at 0 degrees Aries, or very close to 0 degrees. There were some sources that really took it back to like the beginning of humans becoming agricultural, right? So I'm looking at what's happening with AI and thinking, well, when humans went from a completely primitive tribal existence to agriculture, that kind of sparked modern civilization as we know it, right? It was the beginning of a whole new era. I feel like we're looking at the dawn of the space age probably right now, taking us out into a whole different way of being human. All right. And there's going to be interesting developments that will be really coming forward this year in conjunction with technology. So I'm just sharing what's coming through for me, but each one of us has our own direct connection with source. So really feel into this and see what you come up with, what your higher self tells you. It'll be more and above and beyond what you're seeing in this video. And I'd love to hear what you're feeling about this year of the fire horse. Put your comments below and let's have a discussion. This is super exciting. But anyway, we're talking about Aries energy. And so here we are, Neptune and Saturn both moving into Aries, conjuncting at 0 degrees Aries. And in addition, we have Chiron, right? The wounded healer who is going to be dancing in and out of Aries all year long. Chiron, of course, carries a lot of horse energy. He's a centaur. And in Greek mythology, most of the centaurs were very wild, and they were known for being wild and undisciplined and pretty unsavory characters. You didn't really want to mess with the centaurs, and they were considered really undeveloped, right? And crass because they represent the human that hasn't fully left its animal nature. Okay, this is key for 2026. All right, so what Chiron represents is the human who has risen above that, and that has happened through trauma and through wounding, right? And after having come through that, he becomes the healer, right? So this year could be one that really, 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 for many, it may be very traumatic, right? But we have to take that bigger picture and understand that it's through that process of trauma, of going through trials and tribulations, that we are able to overcome what needs to be overcome and to step into the healer role, to rise up above the lower nature and step into our more spiritual nature that is able to be a healing presence in the world. Right, so Chiron is a very, very important planet, and you might want to track Chiron this year in regards to your natal chart. My Chiron is actually in Aries, so this feels like it's going to be a very intense year for me, but it feels good. And also, I want to let you know that there's a lot of feeling of chaos right now, and a lot of people are, you get people with the doomsday approach and the crazy prophecies and all that. but I want to tell you about the energy that I'm feeling in this year, and you can see it in my paintings. Okay, so this is an older painting that I started probably, I don't know, 2021. It was really dark, and I'm starting to add some color to it because what I'm feeling this year is vibrant energy. And I was actually going to try to paint the year of the fire horse. This is about as close as I got digging out this old one. But it was like I my higher self was like, no, you're not. I don't really want to paint horses so much. And what I ended up like I'm really grooving on these. Oh my gosh. This is a brand new style for me. And I feel like we are getting so many high frequency light waves coming through. And I started feeling these in December, really a big opening around the solstice. And now I'm being guided much more frequently into the studio. And I'm feeling these energies of joy and of expansion and blooming. It's showing in the work. These are kind of half done pieces, but I'm feeling so excited about this. And what these pieces are, I'm just letting myself, they're scribbles, right? Letting myself paint like a child, and it's just blowing my mind because it is so free, and it's feeling just everything's flowing. It's not like a lot of times in the past, I don't know, 7, 10 years, it's been a struggle for me. It's been a battle going into the studio, and all of a sudden it's like it's not a battle anymore. It is feeling amazing. So I just want to share that with you, not really just to let you know that the energies that are available to us are incredible right now. And yes, there will be a lot of people that are feeling chaotic or feeling the chaos, but from where I'm seeing it, all the chaos, even the horrible things that may be happening, that may happen this year, it's part of what's being brought up to be healed, right? And it's this process of bringing stuff up to be cleared out. But underneath it all and driving it all is this incredible energy of life. And it's coming through the sun. It's beaming down on this planet. I'm feeling it so, so strongly. It's a lot of heart energy too, crown and heart, and just connecting it all right. So, already getting into kind of what this year is shaping up to look like energetically, we're seeing old systems crumbling, right? Just in a nutshell. And there may be a lot of resistance to that geopolitical chaos, right? We're already seeing it. But what can happen, what the promise is that when we align with these energies, okay, the fire horse becomes Pegasus, right? Fire horse, the horse grows wings, and then we rise above all that stuff, and we rise up to be at the level of the sun. Okay, so it becomes this exalted combination of freedom and service, so we can rise above while moving powerfully ahead. So this is a year to let your higher self take the reins. And again, we're going back to that Aries energy. Aries is it's stepping into your own power, right? Aries is sovereignty. It's being your own person. And when it's expressed in the lower energies, right, in the 3D world, it can be power plays, it can be might makes right, it can be all that warfare and the conflict. But when we express it in the more fifth dimensional heart and above energies, that energy of sovereignty becomes so beautiful, okay? Because it's how you allow the divine to express itself through you in your own unique way, right? And so that is what we are really being invited to step into this year. All right, so I'm going to share a message from my higher self about this, and then we're going to look at horse and how horse can help us to actually step into this and experience it, right? Okay, so here's the message from my higher self. 2026 is a call to action. Overthinking is its nemesis, but beware of action guided by overthinking. Consider the advice of others. but look to your own heart as the ultimate authority. When in doubt, take a step forward, take that action. If it feels free, keep moving. Your momentum will grow. But where you feel resistance, your heart will tell you whether to push through or find a way around. Respond, don't react. When you are aligned, there will be a sense of stillness or deep peace at the center of your being that will energize your field and draw good things to you. All right. So, where does horse come into this? I feel like, first of all, that admonition to respond. I said a prey animal, and its instinct is always to react. Okay, that's what instincts are. They're a pre programmed reaction to circumstances that in the 3D world, in 3D nature, will maximize the potential for survival. Okay, so reaction and instinctive reaction is a survival programming, and it's within each of us as human beings because we've got our animal nature, right? That's when we look at that centaur as that's just the human being running on its pre-programmed instincts, right? And it is not civilized at all right? And so civilization is this thin veneer of being civil over a seething mass of instinct and reactivity. Okay, and that is why so far human civilization it frequently outbreaks in war and conflict, as we're seeing now. Okay, so as a human consciousness evolves, we are able to step out of that into a more rational frame of mind and override our instincts. Now, the lower level of that is the intellect, okay, and that can help a lot, but it's only going to get us to a certain level, okay, and that's what we're seeing now. With all this machine consciousness, right? It's this full development of pure intellect, but there's something more that human beings bring to the table because we are part of the angelic hierarchy, okay? And that's the other aspect of the human that is meant to override the basic instincts, and that is represented by the writer. Okay, the writer is our intellect, our consciousness, but is also guided by that higher self. Okay, so the writer, if the writer has only advanced so far as the intellect, that is like the old school of horsemanship where you had to break the horse's spirit. Okay, so we are looking for the more enlightened type of horsemanship here, where the horseman is very sensitive to the horse, and it becomes this partnership. This is what we're doing when we are working with our lower energies. It is just like a master natural horseman working with horses. Back in the day when they did actually train horses for battle, the training was a matter of training the horse instead of being reactive and reacting to its instincts to become responsive and responsive to the direction of the rider and also responsive to the energy of the rider, right? Because a good horseman knows how to maintain this calm, grounded presence, which allows the horse to feel calm and relaxed, even in a stressful situation. Okay. And so that as partners, they can both step into this amazing partnership of man and animal that enables incredible feats of courage and athleticism. You only need to look up some videos of the Lipizan stallions, and you will see just some amazing things. And that is the energy that we're aiming for this year in 2026, right? Is overcoming our instinctual reactivity in order to step into this grounded and very divine partnership with our bodies, our nervous systems, and our spirit, our higher self, right? Which enables, unlocks this incredible creativity and ability to step fully into your power. Just a few tips I'm going to give you from horse. Training a young horse is they're not put under saddle right away. They're not expected to. There will be months and months of groundwork, working with the horse, having it learn to pick up its feet, learn to be led around by the halter, to be subject to stressful situations and not react. Okay, so lots and lots and lots of groundwork. What is that for us as spiritual beings? That's our daily spiritual discipline, right? That's getting ourselves grounded. That's learning to recognize, okay, what's going on with this animal self of mine, right? Am I feeling reactive? And if so, how can I help that nervous system to calm down and to ground and to realize it's safe, right? It takes daily training and daily discipline. A lot of people don't like that D word, discipline, but this is going to be increasingly important in 2026 is to do our groundwork. So that's something that I could really, really encourage you if you haven't gotten a routine yet of the daily spiritual. It doesn't have to be very long every day, but it's extremely helpful and it's going to serve you very, very well throughout 2026 to get into some kind of a meditation routine or mind body routine, yoga, Tai Chi, whatever it is for you. All right. And then the other thing is, as the writer, couple things. One, I remember when I was a girl and I took some riding lessons and I kept like bouncing up out of the saddle. And partly it's because I had read this story where a horse told the boy who was riding him to grip with his knees. And so I was gripping and gripping and gripping, and the more I gripped, the higher I would bounce out of the saddle. And finally, there's something the instructor said. I can't even remember what it was, but she's like, "Sit deep." And so as soon as I learned to sit and to anchor with my sit bones into the saddle, that's the root chakra, right? Instead of the knees, instead of gripping, whew, to just kind of lean back and anchor, then it was like, wow, it became smooth and easier, so much easier. And it felt like such a much more beautiful connection with the horse, right? And so that's why that grounding and that work is so, so important because when we develop that grounding within ourselves. It takes practice, right? But once you get the hang of feeling it, you'll always have this anchor or this feeling that you can come back to. All right. And that's when I'm going to read that part of the message again. When you're aligned, there will be a sense of stillness or deep peace at the center of your being that will energize your field and draw good things to you. Right. And then the last thing I want to mention, again, going back to the few horse lessons that I had, I was always taught to, especially if approaching a jump, right? Remember, we're leaping over obstacles this year. Okay, this is a year that many of us may be finally overcoming whatever's been holding us back to step into our real power and our purpose, right? So, leaping over those obstacles, when you have an obstacle that you're about to go over, um, you, as the writer, you're going forward and you're looking ahead and you're focusing on there. You're not looking down at the saddle. You're not looking at who's ever's in the bleachers. You're not looking at anything else, but you're focusing on where you're going. All right. And so this is something that it's going to be increasingly important to we're stepping into our power as co-creators of reality, of co-creators of the world that's being born right now, right? And the more that we can focus on this light and the beauty and what we're bringing into the world and letting everything else fall away, you're focusing on that, it's going to lead you right over and through, okay? Versus if you're allowing yourself to look over at maybe somebody else's horse over there or something that's happening over here, you're likely to crash into that obstacle instead of over it because you're not giving the horse the direction it needs and the calmness that it needs in order to know that it's going to fly over there just fine. Okay. So this how does this translate into our world here in 2026? I'd say especially the drama, all right? Well, we're already seeing it there. This is going to be a year of drama. What does the drama do? Is designed to appeal to your reactive self, right? Your base instincts, your survival instincts that drags you right down into 3D and that energizes the whole matrix of the world with 3D reactive, crazy, chaotic energy. Okay. And so the more of us can pull our energy off those distractions, all the outrage on social media, all the stuff, okay, and be aware of it. And I'm not saying to, don't put blinders on. You want to kind of be aware of it. A good writer is going to have that in their periphery so they know if there's something that's really charging towards them, they can pivot direction if needed. Um, but keep it on the periphery, you know, keep your focus on where you want to go, right? And that's going to be very hopeful in moving forward in this, making this year of the Fire Horse 2026 an amazing one for you. All right. And then one final note, some of you watching may be just newly awakened, right? And new to this whole spiritual scene. You may be starting to see number sequences or connect with your angels. That's beautiful. So I remember back when I was just starting this big spiritual awakening in 2014, it's like this whole new world opens up. And I can speak for myself, and I've noticed it in many, many, many awakening people. A lot of times one thinks one is more spiritually advanced than one is. So it's really important to recognize that one's level of spiritual awakening and ability to see the spiritual world does not correlate with one's level of spiritual maturity, right? And there are people that are far more spiritually mature, certainly than I was when I started my awakening, that maybe aren't seeing the spiritual stuff yet, but they probably in other lifetimes have reached a level of spiritual maturity where they're able to handle things right at a very high level. So don't judge people by whether or not they're seeing the spiritual world. Really just focus on your own self and your own needs, and focusing in on how can we work with our bodies and work with our nervous systems in a way that feels grounded. For many of us, this may be a year of just grounding work, right? If you do nothing else but spend a little time every day in meditation or with breath work and learning to work with that nervous system to keep it grounded and centered, don't worry so much about whether or not you're stepping fully into your purpose this year. For some of us, maybe some of us are going to be like hitting this year hard and just really things maybe blossoming open for us. But there is so much potential for wherever you are on your spiritual path and your spiritual journey. The energies are so supportive of you stepping into this on your own time and finding your center and stepping into your own truth in your own way as appropriate for you right now. All right. So your job, our job, to stay grounded, to be the witness, to ride your horse, but don't let it ride you. I had a wonderful interview on the Curious Cat podcast, and we talked a lot about this year of the fire horse. We go deeper into horse symbolism there. And so I will link that below. One of the things that came out of that was be the rider, not the horse, and choose where you're going. Look ahead and not at the drama. We had a lot of fun. We also went into other things like connecting with past loved ones. So check that one out. And then this February 15th on the Sunday, I'm hosting a Lightworkers Cafe gathering and guided meditation for the year of the fire horse. That'll be right in that window of time right before the year of the fire horse starts. It's going to be super powerful. And I invite you to join me there. I'm going to lead us through a guided meditation to help usher us into that fire horse energy in a way that's calm, collected, grounded, and powerful, right? So hope to see you there. Check the description box below for that link. And as always, I invite you to subscribe if you haven't yet. Would love if you'd share this video and also share your insights about the year of the Fire Horse 2026. Can't wait to hear them. And remember, you were born to be free.